Jade from New Jersey, it's the SNL Nerds, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, John Trumbull.
And I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson.
Hey, Darren, how you doing today?
Doing well, good sir, doing well. We're getting into the summer months, in the heat, and the warm, steamy, sweaty, sweltery months of summer.
Yes.
Doing all right. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell I'm hot and I'm recording in my recording booth and it's a bit stuffy in here.
Yeah. You're gonna have heat stroke before the end of the episode. So
yes, I will pass out at some point during this recording. So
yes,
let's tune in, listeners. Find out when I lose consciousness.
Yeah, this will be fun. This will be suspenseful. And if you're hearing a little background noise, that's because we have a guest with us joining us remotely. Darren, why don't you introduce the people to our fine guest?
Oh, our fine guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's a good friend of mine. He's a hilarious comedian here on the East Coast, here in New York, New Jersey area, as they say. And one of the, I don't think no one says that. I just figured I'm gonna try to start it. And
you are killing this.
Aren't I though? Oh my! I told you it's hot in here. And, I told you that off the rip. And I'll say, I told him this to his face. Like, he's like one of the most hardest working comedians I know. He's constantly doing shows like day after day after day. He makes me look like a slouch, and he's hilarious. You hear his laughter is just infectious. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Calvin Cato.
Yay!
Aww. Thank you so much. Also, I work hard. I feel like I don't know how hard I actually work, but you know what? I'll take the compliment. Yes, I do work hard. I get out there day in, day out. I peddle the jokes. I push the grout. I do all of that.
Right. That's you work hard for the money.
So hard
Calvin,
for it.
Are you a full-time stand-up comic, or do you still have a day job? Is comedy your side hustle, or?
Well, I mean, I guess technically, since I do not have a day job, yes, I do this full time.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, it's been full time. It's been full time actually since COVID, because COVID happened. I did have a job, and I mean, unsurprisingly, like a lot of other people lost that job, but I was always doing comedy on the side, and then Zoom shows ended up paying pretty well, and then between that and the unemployment boost, and then I was just getting more and more stuff. So now things are good. But with that being said, I will be looking for a job in September. So let's just keep that circulating. If you're looking for a book editor, I can do that. Or a podcast editor, I can do that too. Or a host of things, I can host things.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll include your LinkedIn in the show notes.
Yeah.
Please do.
So.
Listeners, hit up our boy.
Direct download of my resume.
Yeah, put up his career builder link. Put that
up. Exactly, and Calvin is joining us because we're at the tail end of Pride Month, and we decided to do, because it's Pride Month, we decided to do a recent movie that dropped, Fire Island, which just came out at the beginning of June. And it co-stars SNL's own Bowen Yang.
Yay!
Yeah, Fire Island, directed by Andrew Ahn, and written and starring Joel Kim Booster, who's a comic. I believe he's like a New York comic. I think I remember seeing him around here and there, but like lately he's been really kind of blowing up. Like he's had a Comedy Central special. He was on that NBC show Sunnyside with Cal Penn not too long ago. And he's
which I watched.
How was that show? Was it all right?
It was interesting. I watched it. I liked it, and I saw the potential for where it was. I didn't think it was quite there yet, but I thought that Cal Penn obviously is a very good comedic actor, but he assembled such a great crew. I mean, Joel Kim Booster was really funny. Poppy Lou was really great. I'm forgetting the guy's name. He's like another comic who's from LA, although he does stuff in New York. I think his name is Moses something. I forget. You can edit that in post, but hopefully.
Edit
Moses. Insert name here.
But I thought that the ensemble was really great. I just think the show didn't quite connect as well as it wanted to. But I enjoyed it, and I remember Joel Kim Booster because he I think he started in Chicago, but then he was in New York for a number of years. So I did some shows with him here and there. before he moved out to LA and now is all, Hollywood.
Right.
But yeah, he's really
Got
funny. He wrote for Billy on the Street. He's great.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Sweet. Oh, and so the comedian you think about, Moses Storm, which is quite
Yes,
a
there
name.
we go. Yes, I know, right? I'm like, oh, excuse me, how dare he?
Yeah. Like I mean, I just remember him because he does have a like an HBO Max comedy special out that I think like Conan put out on his label or something like that. So there's
Moses
that.
Storm does, or Joel Kim Booster does?
Moses Storm does. Joel Kim Booster, I
Oh,
think
okay.
he does. But I believe Joel Kim Booster is coming out with his own special very very soon if it's not out already.
I think it. Oh yeah, no, it is out because I just watched it. It's on Netflix. Psychosexual. It's very funny.
Okay,
Cool.
all right, there you go.
All right.
Boom.
All right. So folks can check that out. And now, Calvin, a thing we like to ask folks when they guest star on the podcast for the very first time: what's your SNL origin story? Are you a fan of Saturday Night Live? And if so, like, what era did you start watching? What turned you on to SNL?
So I do like SNL a lot. I am definitely a big fan. I wouldn't say a super fan, mainly because like there were some years here and there that I like ended up skipping out on because partly college and partly I was too poor to have a television. But I mainly started when I was like around. I'm trying to think at exactly what age, but I remembered it was like one of the first times my parents actually let me stay up late with them and we watched
Mhm.
SNL. And I watched from like I always so I date my SNLs to based on the Weekend Update years. So I caught the Kevin Nealon years. So I remember watching. I liked Kevin Nealon a lot as a Weekend Update host. I remember the famous, Madonna ripping up the Pope picture. Remember seeing that live as that happened.
That was actually Sinead O'Connor.
Oh my God!
Gotta correct you there.
Yes, right. Because Madonna then said "fight the real enemy" and then ripped up Andrew Dice Clay, which I also saw live.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I mix up the wording, but I was a big fan, and I always really liked the spontaneity of it. And it's really cool. I sadly did not see too much of this past season because I was just too busy working with shows and stuff. But I'm familiar with like some of the writers. I know Vanessa Jackson and Alex English are writing on it and stuff. And I caught some
All
stuff
right.
here and there, but I feel so behind, which is sad.
Oh,
All
how
right.
dare you! How dare you!
Yeah. 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 You should have done
No,
your homework. You should have watched all the
yeah.
episodes before you got on this podcast.
Honestly, this last season it was a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, it's like any season of SNL. So there's some great episodes. There were some not so great episodes, and that's just what the show is. I mean, that's
Yeah. Very true. So, do you have any like famous or favorite cast members? Anybody like you throughout the entire history that's like, oh, that's my go-to person.
Oh boy. For me it's so hard because I there's so many I liked, and I am the older I get and the more I like look at SNL, the more I realize I'm like there are people who I think are extremely talented. So for example, I mean I loved Amy Poehler, I love Maya Rudolph, absolutely love Kate McKinnon. I think she's amazing. I feel like Tim Meadows never really got his full due after SNL, but he's a really good, talented comedic actor, and he has really great timing. And
yeah, yeah.
it frustrates me that I feel like they never found a proper vehicle for him. But I also like the weird ones. Like I loved Ellen Cleghorn. I feel like
Huh.
went to bat for her. I watched her sitcom. I really loved her. Like for me, I was always there were like the big hits who I like. Rachel Dratch, Will Ferrell. But like again, Rachel Dratch is a similar situation where I'm like, I feel like there are always people who I really loved where I'm like, what happened? Why did they get like their own spin-off thing? Like Sherry O'Terry, love her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like I could go on and on, but
Okay.
like I tended to like more of the women performers. I found them to be more versatile. And currently, I love Bowen Yang and Ego Wodum. I think that they're really hilarious.
Yeah, they're both great, and I enjoyed seeing Bowen Yang play. He had like some straight dramatic moments in this movie that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, and that was really cool to see him be a little more versatile than he can even be on SNL. So
Yes,
Yeah.
totally agree. And it's so funny because I'm so used to seeing Bowen in like again SNL or like in comedic roles. Like I don't know if you watch this movie, Isn't It Romantic? It was like a Rebel Wilson vehicle.
haven't seen it.
Um,
Oh, I know of it,
it's
but I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I actually would recommend it. It's really funny because it's basically it stars Rebel Wilson and I'm trying to remember one of the Hemsworths. I always get them confused. I think it's Liam, because it's not the Thor one. I don't
It's
think,
not Chris
but
Hemsworth.
yeah, it's not Thor. It's my friend always says it's like Chris is like the best Hemsworth, and then Liam is lesser Hemsworth, and then Luke is the least Hemsworth, which I think is rude, but
I think
kind of
that's the
accurate.
scale. Yes, was
They're like a handsomer Baldwin brothers.
right.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
isn't it romantic? It's really good. So basically, it stars Rebel Wilson, and basically she is like it's a romantic comedy parody, but it's so spot on, and it's when it hits all the romantic tropes where it's like Rebel Wilson is like a frumpy assistant lady, and then she gets hit on the head, and then wakes up in a rom com world where she has like
Oh yeah, I think I saw the trailer for that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the trailer didn't do it justice. And for me, I don't normally even like rom coms like that, but I
Hmm.
love spoofs. And the spoofs like nail it. Like there's a perfect Pretty Woman spoof. There's a perfect like spoof of like, and I remember reading about this afterwards. The director watched, I think it was like 30 or 40 rom com movies to get every spoof right in the
Hmm.
Wow.
movie. It's really good. And Bowen Yang, like he is like a relatively small part, but he like plays this like it's like this gay drug dealer's boyfriend. It's really good. I liked it.
All right.
Cool. All right. Well, I
Cool.
mean, it stars an SNL cast member or alum, so maybe we could cover it sometime. Um, but in the meantime, we're doing Fire Island. Should we dive into Fire Island for this week?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think the first thing you have to know about this movie is it more or less has the same plot as Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. Like I mean, I watched this movie with my wife, and she kept saying, "Oh, that's from Pride and Prejudice. Oh, that's from Pride and Prejudice. Wait, is this whole thing just Pride and Prejudice?" And like I've never seen Pride and Prejudice, so I didn't catch all the little nuances and nods they were giving to the movie. But yeah, like if yeah, like, my wife saw it and was like, "Oh, that's totally Pride and Prejudice." Like, I mean, but they also mention it in the movie too, like when the lead character Noah, played by Joel Kim Booster, is reading Jane Austen, and
Yeah.
right off the bat, you find out he's a huge Jane Austen fan.
It took me a while. It wasn't actually until almost towards the end where I was like, "This feels very gothic," and then and then I was like, "I feel like this is maybe Pride and Prejudice-y," and then and then I looked it up afterwards. I was like, "Oh, yes, this is a totally Pride and Prejudice like framework, basically that they're working in."
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure I've never read Pride and Prejudice, the novel, at least not all the way through. I might have been assigned it at one point in school, but I don't think I finished the entire thing. So
Wow.
I only sort of vaguely know. I know that there's a dude named Mr. Darcy, and he's emotionally distant, but he turns out to be the good person. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty much all you need. Like, I mean, I remember
yeah,
reading it, but the reason why I didn't twig on it was because it was a similar thing. Like, I read it in junior high school or something. Like, it
yeah.
was like a long time ago where, and Pride and Prejudice, like, was one of the ones that never stuck with me. So that's why I was like, it took me a while to, like, get all the allegories.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. But although I think like even if you haven't read or seen Pride and Prejudice, you could still get and understand the movie. It still makes sense, I think.
yeah. I know.
It's very rom-com-y in general. So
Yes.
it hits all those tropes of, like, we have to make a grand romantic gesture, and, like,
Mhm.
there's the haves and the have-nots and all that other, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it seemed like a cool updating of a lot of those tropes, and it was interesting that early in the movie they have Joel Kim Booster's. He drops his phone in a swimming pool so that he's without his phone for most of the movie,
Mm.
and that way we get a great scene where Will, who is this movie's equivalent of Mr. Darcy, he writes Noah a long letter, which of course you wouldn't have if
Mm.
Noah still had access to his phone. It would be like a long text
Yeah.
message maybe or something like that, which
Right.
doesn't
I
have
think
the
they
same impact.
Yeah, I think they even mentioned that in the movie. It's like, who writes letters anymore? He wrote you a
Right.
letter? What's that? What's
Yeah.
that? But
Actually,
So
that's actually what I appreciated a lot about the movie was like you would see things happen and I'm like, this is like out of an old school thing, but then they would like explain it where I was like, okay, you're at least like staying within the conceit of the movie and not being like, yeah, now we're writing a letter because Pride and Prejudice. It was like, oh, he dropped his phone and his phone has been sitting in rice for like the entire weekend, basically.
Right. So I like that they at least tried to justify that stuff a little bit instead of just doing it for no reason. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah,
but the movie mainly focuses on Joel Kim Booster's character of Noah, who's this movie's version of Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, and he's getting together with a group of his friends, and they're going out to Fire Island, which, if you don't know, I mean, it's basically like a big gay retreat. And do I have that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can go if you're straight. You're allowed to go. Don't worry, we don't block you at the door.
Well, that's good. They don't screen us.
They don't card us. That's good.
No. You can leave your rainbow cards wherever you want. It's fine. But yeah, so basically what Fire Island is so it's a barrier island, and basically it's where a lot of queer people flock to, and it gets really big during the summers, and so people rent houses out there. And then there's Cherry Grove, which is kind of more for like the older, relaxed queer set, and then there's the Pines, which is there for the gays who want to like do a lot of partying and sex and drinking and drugs, etc., etc. But the whole point is that it's a very big gay mecca that was started in I forget when. It was like the mid 1900s, basically. And it's really cool. You can rent an apartment, or you can rent a house out there, although it's crazy expensive. Or you can take a day trip, so you can just take a ferry out there and a ferry back. But yeah, it's supposed to be this big gay old time.
So it's kind of like a Martha's Vineyard type of place, right?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm trying to dumb this down to my life experience.
I'd imagine, or maybe like the Hamptons. You can say, but is it like that?
Sort of. I mean, in terms of the richness, yes, it's like the Hamptons and Martha's Vineyard, but in terms of the activity, it's kind of more like Vegas, I would say.
Oh, wow.
It's because it's a lot of debauchery.
Much more decadent.
Yes.
So it's like ancient Rome, is what you're saying.
Yes. I mean,
maybe not that far. Maybe like Vesuvius.
Okay.
Okay, I can dig it. And so then we're introduced to Noah's friends. He has one of his friends named Howie, played by Bone Yang, who he has the strongest connection with, because he mentions that he met all his friends. They were all working at a brunch spot in Williamsburg back in the day, and they bonded over that hellish job. But he bonds with Howie a little bit more than all of his other friends. You could tell they have a stronger connection. And I'll just say this off top, like, one of the things I really loved about this movie is the scenes with Bone Yang and Joel Kim Booster. They have some really strong, like, friendship chemistry there, and like some of those scenes I thought were some of the best in the film.
I totally agree.
I agree. Yeah. They had a nice chemistry together, and I like that they had that bond, that they were both out gay Asian guys, but they also made a point of, that doesn't mean we're the same. We don't have the same points of view. We don't have the same life experiences. I mean, that was cool.
So exactly. I really enjoyed that. And I really also, I mean, in general, I mean, they're both good friends in real life, so you can tell, but like they just had like such a very easy rapport. And I easily thought that the dialogue between the two of them felt the most natural to me. And I really appreciated that. Even though they both were like, yes, we're gay and Asian, you know, Bone is supposed to be, quote unquote, like the less attractive one, and Joel Kim Booster is like the more attractive one. And like, I like that they worked those differences in terms of like their appeal to gay men on Fire Island, because in general, I mean, I'm sure this is not new news, but gay men can be very shallow and stereotypical. And what I appreciated also is, I know. Stop the podcast. I know.
This is completely new information to us. So
men can be superficial? I mean, wow. Huh.
I know. I'm sorry. You had to learn this during Pride Month, but gay men can suck.
Right. Heyo.
But yeah, they describe early in the movie they described Fire Island as like gay Disneyland, which I thought was a good way to convey the idea of it to folks like Darren and me who aren't as familiar. So and yeah, so they gather together. They go out in this big group every year. They stay with their friend Aaron, who's played by Margaret Cho.
Who was fucking amazing. I mean, in general, I'm Margaret Cho. I feel like was one of my comedic awakenings. Like I remember watching her old specials when I was a kid, but like I mean, she's so funny and like she nailed it. I personally
Mm-hmm.
thought I loved her.
Yeah, she had a nice scene towards the end of the movie where her character kind of opened up about her inner life a bit, which I liked because it gave her a bit more depth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that was pretty cool too.
No, yeah, she's fantastic.
So yeah,
Awesome.
And like
so
And
like
I
I
like
believe.
that. Oh,
What's that?
sorry.
go
I was
ahead,
gonna say I
No.
also liked. Oh, sorry.
Calvin, then Darren.
Okay.
What I was gonna say is I like that. Even though it was centered around it was centered around Howie and Noah. I like that like their friend group was diverse. I think that that was something that was refreshing, and I think that a lot of gay movies tend to just focus on like cis white gay males, and I like that they had Luke and Keegan. Luke played by Matt Bowen, who, in case you guys don't know, about Matt Bowen and Bowen Yang do a podcast together, Las Culturistas, that's like wildly popular. But I like that Luke was the only white one, and I like that Keegan was Latinx, and I liked that they had like a black friend as well. Like I was glad they had Max around, and I thought that was great that he was with black, and he was also a bigger sized gay person. Like I like that it felt
Mhm.
more realistic than like when you see a lot of other gay movies and everyone looks like basically an Abercrombie and Fitch ad model. You
Right.
know, I thought that was really refreshing.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of times they'll have just like all the gay guys are super cut and just 10 million abs and
All the abs.
all the abs, all the abs have just settled on one person.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. I do like the diversity of showing, like gay people aren't just this one thing, this one stereotypical type of being. It's like you said, like the Max character was like a bigger, huskier fellow, and
Mhm.
I enjoyed the diversity of that. So yeah, I agree with you, Kel.
Yeah, I mean it's nice when that's the advantage of showing a diversity of people in one subculture like LGBTQ people. I mean, because when you have lots of different characters, you can have a diversity of types and points of view and all that, and you don't have like one or two characters who are representing all gay people, because that's a lot to lay on any character.
No,
Exactly,
absolutely.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So actually, there's this one point in the movie that, since both of you guys are single, I gotta ask and see if this is actually a thing that people do. So later on in the movie, we see the guys go out and then they make eyes with this group of other guys. Charlie and Will is also there too, who's our Darcy
Hmm.
character, and we see that Charlie is making eyes at Howie, but Howie of course doesn't want to approach, and then we get to this one point where the guys, Howie, Noah and his crew, they look up the person on Instagram that is making eyes at Howie, and like, so wait, so do straight people do this in bars now? Is this how, like, they'll, like, if you like somebody, you don't talk to them just yet. First, you look them up on Instagram, and then maybe, is that like a new thing, or am I just like old and out of touch?
So I can speak for myself. I mean, I'm actually not single anymore.
Oh,
But
all right. My bad.
yeah, it's a whole thing. Anyway, we don't have to talk about. But I mean, but even still, like, I that is definitely a thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people do that, and I know that I will do that from context clues. Like, I mean, for like when I was using like apps, like not the sex apps, but like OkCupid and stuff. Like you
Mhm.
still, if you chat with someone, you try to be like, oh, what's your name? Darren. And then like, I've done that whole thing where like, if I'm chatting or whatever, I'll be like, oh, what do you do? And if they're like, oh, I'm a teacher. And I'm like, oh, I'm so curious about where. And then you immediately Google like Darren teaches at New Brunswick High School. And then you kind of get all the information. Because you need to like, it's so much easier now. And you need to get that base because you don't want to be like, oh, and you have an arrest record or like you were kicked out of that school for, dealing ecstasy or whatever.
That's why I don't put my arrest record online. Okay. Wow. All right. It's a different world out there.
I don't, John, maybe you can speak to it differently, but I know I Google stock for sure.
I mean, that is not really a thing that I do, but I mean, Darren, I have an Instagram account, but I've literally not posted anything on it. And yet somehow I have like 300 followers.
Wow.
So, I mean, it just seems so absurd to me because like I have Facebook, I have Twitter. That's honestly enough for me. I think I just started Instagram to like follow a few people, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with just like occasionally commenting on somebody's thing. So I don't. I've never looked at somebody up on Instagram or Facebook or something while I've been at the bar. I once like met someone on a plane, and I started following her on Facebook after that. Like we followed each other so we could stay in touch. That's about as far as I've gone there. So,
got it.
but I mean, I'm out of the loop. I'm not like a big bar person anymore. So,
okay. All right. Yeah, I've just been out of the dating game for the longest time. So when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, is this how it goes now? They do some recon on you first before they ask you for the digits.
I think online recon. I think that is a thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It is. I mean, I would say. I mean, I feel like I'm probably like. I mean, I was in the game for a while, and I would do that, but I would also do that because, and I actually found that to be really realistic because I know a lot of other people who do that mainly because you want to make sure that this person is actually single, because a lot of times you'll meet people and they'll be like, yeah, I'm a doctor and whatever, but you can never come back to my place, and then you find out that that's because that's where their wife lives. And then you're like, oh shit, this is bad.
Right. Yeah. That's true. It is. It can be a lot tougher to keep things secret in the online age. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's good to know. Look at me learning.
Yeah. Now you know a little about being single in 2022, which I'm sure will come in really handy for you, Darren.
Yeah, it'll be great. I can't wait.
Let's hope you never have to apply that information, though. Seriously,
no, exactly. It's heinous.
I'm never going back. No way.
Yeah. Like, good call. No. Good call.
Yeah.
So, and so Noah and Howie's friend group, they aren't like the real they aren't like the in crowd there on Fire Island. I mean, we got Bowen Yang. He's wearing his Meatballs shorts. Last week when we covered the movie Meatballs, he's wearing the early '80s style short shorts, which just kind of jumped out to me because we talked about Meatballs last week, and 1979. It's a golden age of short shorts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the beginning of the movie, they Noah, who does narration throughout the film, kind of establishes that like they're all broke. No one has any money. Like they're they're at that level of poverty where odds are they'll never own property. And even so when they go crash at their friend Erin's house, even she has a house out in Fire Island, but she establishes that like she's may have to sell it because she's super bad with money. She was one of the earliest investors in Quibi.
Which I laughed at really hard. I feel like that's such a perfect. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like I don't know if everyone would get that, but that was such a perfect comedian in joke. Or like, if you're comedy adjacent, you're like, "Yep, I get it."
Well, it relates to the backstory of this movie because it says on the Fire Island's Wikipedia page, it says streaming television network Quibi announced development of a comedy series called titled Trip in September 2019, starring, created, and written by Joel Kim Booster. And it was given a
Oh.
series order. Bowen Yang was cast in a lead role in April 2020. And and then Quibi was shut down on December 1st, 2020, and then the project was jeopardized. So it basically morphed into this feature film called Fire Island. So that was an in joke on a couple levels.
Oh wow, I didn't even notice that.
I
Yeah.
didn't know
Very
that,
good.
this was the beginning of that. I remember that Joel Kim Booster had developed a thing for Quibi that got canceled. Because I remember that
Mm-hmm.
was the same time, like, I knew a lot of comedians had developed stuff
Right.
that was
Like
going to be on Quibi and then got canceled.
they were bringing back Reno 911 on Quibi, and
Yep.
I think those new episodes have landed somewhere else now. I'm forgetting which streaming service because who can keep track of them all, but
Yeah, maybe Roku. I think it was Roku.
maybe
I
Roku.
think
Sure.
so, because I remember them dropping. I can't remember where. I feel it was something random like Voodoo or Crackle or one of those,
Yeah.
like,
It's
offshoots.
one of the ones I don't have. I know that much.
Yeah, it really sounds like we're making up half these names.
I know.
It really
Voodoo.
does. I mean, it's like Mark Maron had a great bit about how somebody's like, "Oh, you haven't seen this show," and he not only hasn't heard the show, he hasn't heard of the service that it's on because media is just so fractured now because there's so many different streaming services because everybody wanted to get in on the Netflix action. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Oof, it's
It's
rough.
like asteroids. You just shoot one and it just splinters off into five more, and you're like, what the fuck? I guess there's Billboard and White Snake. I don't know what the fuck they are anymore.
White Snake,
exactly,
the
exactly.
'80s band. Here I go again.
There was also an interesting moment early on when they're getting to know other groups on the island, and Bowen's character of Howie, he starts teasing the guy that he's into about an SNL sketch he's never seen called "Gays in Space," and it's just like that's a weird kind of meta gag because in real life, of course, Bowen Yang is on SNL, has been on SNL for a couple of years now, and
Uh,
as far as I know, they've never done a sketch called "Gays in Space."
well, let me stop you right there, John.
Wait. Oh, I think I remember the sketch you're going to bring up now. Yes.
Yes, he's talking about a sketch that SNL did do back in 2005. If you go back and check out the Jason Bateman hosted episode, there is a sketch
Oh,
called "Gays in Space" where it's set up to be like it's basically like a sci-fi show for the Trio network, where it's basically like Star Trek, but everybody is stereotypically flamboyant gay men. And yeah,
wow! I don't even remember this. I was wondering actually because the way it was sounding, I was like, this must be a real sketch because I can't feel like they would make it up. But I had no idea about that.
yeah, yeah. Like
Actually, I just remembered like when Peter Sarsgaard hosted, I think he did some sort of Star Trek parody, and I think he might have been playing a gay guy in that, but
it
it's
might
just,
be it. Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking up his episode now to see if I can find this.
I got it confused with this other sketch. I think it was a Beck. It was like the Beck Bennett era. I don't know why it was just him. There's a lot of other people there, but they were. It was like he was playing like a gay robot, but the robot wasn't like the robot just happened to be gay, and that he was confusing it with that. But I didn't realize there was an actual gays in space.
Oh yeah, no, that sketch you're talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. If I don't think the sketch is on YouTube, but if you go on the NBC site and look in the SNL section and in the archives, you can find it. It's
Okay.
like Jason. Yeah, it's like Jason Bateman hosted. Like Fred Armisen's in the sketch. Keenan Thompson, because of course, he is on the show forever. And
Right. I
yeah,
think Keenan Thompson is in like 1975 reruns at this point. They're inserting him in retroactively.
yeah, and
I love
actually,
that.
Entertainment Weekly interviewed Bowen about that part, and he says, I was kind of for a second side eyeing Joel, Kim Booster, as we were going into production. I was like, is it obnoxious if my character references SNL? Does that seem so masturbatory? But Joel was like, no, we have to keep this in. This is because this is how we talk as friends. So yeah,
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
I
I
mean, hell,
learned
if
a
you're gonna
little
make a
something.
Quibi reference, you might as well make an SNL reference. Go whole hog. Hell,
Right.
I was
Exactly.
surprised there wasn't the other two reference, frankly, because Joel Kim Booster writes for that show.
Oh yeah, that's such a great
Yeah.
show. That's a show no one like talks about.
I fucking love that show. I'm sorry, I know this is a tangent, but oh my god, like that's another show that I loved in a similar way to Fire Island, where I'm like, when they get like gay culture right, they fucking nail it. And Fire Island, I felt to me did the same thing, where like all the gay culture references they got so correct, and it's so accurate and so timely. But other two,
Okay.
you guys should watch it. It's so fucking funny.
I
Well,
have watched it. I really dig it. It's a really
Ugh.
solid, funny show. It has some like good digs at the industry and show business, New York. It's like I highly recommend it if anybody wants to watch the other two. It's on HBO Max. It deserves more love.
And Beck Bennett does a guest starring arc on that show.
Yes, yes, he does.
oh,
Yes.
Absolutely.
cool. All right. So so Calvin, you thought that they really did get gay culture right for the most part in this movie. I mean, it was largely written and produced by gay people. I think everyone in this cast is genuinely gay. Correct?
Yes, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because all the five lead characters, they're all gay, or they all
Hmm.
identify as queer. Excuse me.
Right.
Margaret Cho obviously identifies as queer.
Right.
The love interest Charlie identifies as queer, and actually, because I was being a good person, did my research. I was like, I know him from somewhere. He's from. There's this show on Netflix called You. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Yes,
it.
Mm,
I have
yeah.
Um,
heard of it. Yeah.
Very good show. And if anyone doesn't know, it's told from the point of view of Penn Badgley. He's this white guy who's a stalker basically, and every season he stalks a new woman. And so the guy who plays Charlie, he was in the second season. He plays like he's the brother of one of the guys who Penn Badgley, or sorry, brother of one of the ladies who Penn Badgley stalks. And it's so weird because his name on that show is 40, and he's aggressively straight. So I had no idea that he was gay in real life and that he could play gay very well. I mean, obviously he's gay, but I was like,
Oh
Hmm.
wow,
wow.
you were like aggressively straight and an asshole on that show. But like, look at you here in this movie. Amazing.
Oh,
So
this is
he's gay.
fantastic.
Will is gay. He's Conrad Ricamora, who I know from How to Get Away with Murder. He was like a main cast member on that. But yeah, I feel like all the principal characters were gay.
Yeah, I know. I recognize that one friend from Noah's group, Luke, played by Matt Rogers. I recognize him from another show you talked about earlier. I love that for you, the new Vanessa Bayer show
Ah,
on
Uh-huh.
so
Showtime.
good. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I saw he was on that. I was like, oh, it's that guy. All right,
Yeah,
neat. Mhm.
he's great. And then Tomas Matos, I think it was on Legendary. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check.
Okay.
Which is like
Yeah.
this HBO like competitive ball competition series, like drag ball series.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, pretty much the entire cast is all queer or gay men, and Margaret Cho
Hmm.
is the only a woman in this movie. Which I remember there was like this movie called A Little Heat from a writer who I guess maybe trying to go viral, saying how this movie fails the Bechdel test. You familiar
Well,
with that?
That that's kind of a silly metric to apply to this movie, isn't it?
I agree.
yes,
I agree.
Yeah.
that's really dumb. And also on top of that, I mean, even by Bechdel test standards, she I feel like she wasn't always talking about men. In fact, she was spending a lot of time either talking about women or worrying about these queer guys as her children, which I don't, because I thought the whole point of the Bechdel test is that it's always a woman in a scene, and she's constantly talking about a man in terms of like having a boyfriend, wanting a husband, and I feel like that was not her role or what she was doing here.
No,
Right.
not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She wasn't just there to react to the main cast members' um, situations. Yeah, I looked up a little information about that. There was, let's see, what is this person's name? Well, anyway, this person tweeted, "Fire Island movie gets an F minus on the Bechdel test in a whole new way." Um, Did we just ignore the drab lesbian stereotypes because cute gay Asian boys? Is this revenge for all those years of the gay boy best friend? And there was a lot of backlash
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, it seems like, no matter how many step forwards you can take, there are always going to be someone where it's like, well, you should have done more. And
Yeah, there's always somebody.
Alison Bechtel actually got in on the controversy.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and she said, okay, I just added a corollary to the Bechdel test. Two men talking to each other about the female protagonist of an Alice Munro story in a screenplay structured on a Jane Austen novel equals pass.
Yes.
Hashtag Fire Island, hashtag Bechdel test. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
the writer that tweeted that out deleted that tweet and offered a lengthy apology.
Right.
Good.
And then the official Twitter account of Fire Island just replied, "We passed!" with like 5 exclamation points.
Of course they did.
I mean, because honestly, the Bechdel test, and if you don't know what the Bechdel test is, I think it's fairly well known by this point, but in case you haven't heard of it before, it's the test is, and this originated in her comic strip, Dykes to Watch Out For, which is there is more than one woman in a movie. The two women talk to each other, and it is not about a man, which it's kind of like just a test to see if the women parts are decently developed. And it was a joke, but there was truth to it, and I think some people take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
it is a good rule of thumb to see, like, because so often, yeah, you just have the female part just reacting to whatever the man is going through, and that can get tiresome.
It's true, and in fact, like, I mean, I was always respectful of the Bechdel test because I mean, the guy I'm seeing right now, we watch like a mix of movies, but he's very into like older classic cinema, and it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting for me to watch because like I've watched, I am not like a big movie nerd by any means in that way, and so it's cool on the one hand to see like I'd never seen Casablanca before we watch it together, and there are certain other movies that like he was like, oh, this is such a classic, and I watch it, and it's interesting to watch where you see some of the movies are classics. I'm like, okay, I see why, because of the cinematography or for
Mm-hmm.
its time is pushing boundaries. But for me, it's always hard to watch because it's like a lot of the women really don't have agency and they really are only talking about men. And suffice to say, let's not even talk about the minority characters, which are either non-existent or they're always playing maids or servants or things like that.
Right,
So
or they're
I think
very
that
stereotypical in one way or another.
exactly, like, I mean, you see the Charlie Chan or the Manny, like all of those kinds
Yeah.
of like pronounced stereotypes. And I think it is very important to look at the Bechdel test and also look at these movies that we put in the canon in context as, yes, like there's still a lot of issues with this. And
Mm-hmm.
frankly, with Fire Island, I actually did have certain things that happened during this movie where I was like, that's pretty problematic. But the Bechdel test was not my problem there. I'll say
Well,
that.
I think there's one like super problematic thing in the movie, but I think the movie knows that it's problematic. I mean, pretty much every other character to a man says like, "Oh, that's fucked up."
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and
yeah,
the
I
movie
mean,
knows exactly how wrong it is, and they give that character a bit of a comeuppance, I guess.
they do. I mean, I don't know. For me, we can also wait for that. But I honestly, so I watched this with my boyfriend, and I mean, when that scene happened, he was a little horrified, but I was definitely like, that is not okay, and the comeuppance was not good enough. Like, I had a
Yeah.
lot of issues with that scene, and I wish that they had either taken that out completely or done something different. Because I was after that, I was kind of like, it actually lessened my enjoyment of the movie, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Well, I mean, why don't we get into it since we brought it up? I'm sure that's paralleling some event in the Pride and Prejudice novel, but I don't know the plot well enough to say with certainty. But like one of the guys in the group, I think was it Matt Rogers' character?
Yeah,
Yes,
Matt
Luke.
Rogers
Yeah.
was Luke. Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
actually a funny, yeah, because like there's actually a funny line I like because the night before they all went out and partied and did drugs, and the next morning they couldn't find Luke, and Keegan, who is like always with Luke, side by side. They're like a duo. He was getting worried. He's like, "Oh my god, I can't find. If anything happens to him, I don't know what I'm going to do." I mean, we were going to start a podcast. Like, I laughed out loud.
That did make me laugh.
I laughed out loud at it. As a podcaster, I appreciated that.
Yes, yeah. Oh, you have a podcast, Aaron?
Yeah, SNL Nerds. You should listen to it.
Huh.
Yeah, rate and review, subscribe.
Okay.
Follow us on Twitter at SNL Nerds Show.
All right, I'll check it out sometime.
Yeah.
So Luke finds out sort of late in the movie, probably about 3/4 of the way into the movie, that the guy that he hooked up with actually was recording the encounter, and then he puts it up on the internet with Luke's face clearly visible, and yeah. So, and this is no permission, no consent, no nothing, and
yeah.
Wow.
It's date rape, it's date rape.
Thank you. That is exactly what it is, and that is why I was like, this is at least date rape, definitely revenge porn, and most definitely rape. And for me, so okay, this is where my problems went in. So there's a scene where the gays are all gonna go out. They're gonna go to basically this underwear party, and it started off being actually realistic, and like I mean, okay, I feel like I'm revealing too much of myself, but I've gone out with like my gay friends where things like this have happened. So what they all do is all of the 5 of them, they all basically spill out onto the table. These are all the drugs I have. And someone's like, I have Molly. And someone's like, I have something that might be ketamine. It might be a whatever pill. And then someone's like, I have GHB. And here's the thing. So if for people who don't know what GHB is, that GHB is literally a date rape drug. And what people do is if you take GHB, you're supposed to take not down the whole bottle like Luke did. You're supposed to take it at certain intervals and then mix it with water so you don't end up passed out and blacked out. So I was already
okay. That kind of went over my head.
So that's I feel like that was something that like I don't know. And again, I don't want to presume anything, but it's weird that if you are a gay writer, you don't know that, because that's a very well-known thing within gay circles, is that you don't actually down the whole bottle, because that easily leads to you being taken advantage of. And especially if you're on GHB, you're supposed to stay with someone. Someone's supposed to stay with you and make sure and check in with you at least every 30 minutes to an hour to make sure, hey, are you okay? Are you passing out? And especially if you're as close as you claim, if that's my friend and I knew my friend took G, and he's like passing out, I'm immediately like, the night's over, because he basically is like a walking brick. Like he can't go anywhere.
So he basically like downed a bottle of roofies.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay. So my problem was with that at the start. I was like, yikes. And then when they go, so there's a scene where they go to a second location, and I was like, how did you lose your G friend? Because that is not something that friends do unless they're shitty friends. Like that is super dangerous. So again, this is for me, this is where it kind of is hard for me as someone who's experienced that culture to be like, this is massively unrealistic. And then when that happens, when he ends up meeting with that guy and that guy films it, and especially even when like Luke describes it as like, oh, I woke up and he was just there and I assumed we had sex and that was okay. And I was like, that is not okay. That is definitely rape.
Okay. So that definitely went over my head a bit, because I was thinking, and maybe I was missing something or not paying close enough attention. I was thinking it was a consensual encounter, and the violation was that he filmed it without his knowledge or consent and then put it up online, which obviously super fucked up. But yeah, the drug thing. Yeah, I was just assuming, I think that all the drugs were like the equivalent of E or something. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to make it a downer, but for me, that was like where I was like, yeah,
no, I understand the movie better now, so that's cool.
And then to be like, oh, you could just tell him to take it down. Okay, first of all, if anyone knows anything about porn, you cannot take down porn. Like, it's on X. Well, XTube is canceled, but the reason why XTube was canceled was because there was a lot of date rape porn on it. So I was shit. And then and so everything that ends up, if it's already online in one place, Someone's
Yeah.
already downloaded it and posted it onto Pornhub, onto X Hamster, onto X Video. I'm telling myself that I know all of these.
You know,
but
a lot of porn sites.
But I'm like, you cannot remove that porn. So essentially,
Right.
that is rape that is now being reposted everywhere. That one guy cannot take it down. So I was, it was very yuck to me, and I could not.
Right.
Get over
because essentially, once you post something online, it is online somewhere, and someone can find it either intentionally or accidentally. So when they go to the guy and they say, well, you've got to take this down off a site and then delete it from your phone, they kind of act like that solves the problem. And no, it doesn't really, unless even if you did that 30 seconds after you posted it, it's still out there.
Yeah.
I remember years ago there was that actress Alison Pill.
Oh yes,
she's on Star Trek Picard now. Is probably what she's best known for. And she one time somehow I think she was trying to send a sexy pic to her boyfriend, and she accidentally tweeted it out. And then I think she immediately realized what she did and deleted it later. But that picture was out there, and so
that's it. It's like when Chris Evans accidentally he shared a screenshot of something, and one of a part of the screenshot was his penis, and I feel like he took that down a minute later, but literally every single site would have it up, and he would continually ask people to take it down, and as soon as he asked people to take it down, someone else was like, "Oh, but I still have it. Share."
Right.
That's not how that works. So I really wanted to get past that, but for me, it really cast a pall over it, and I understood that it was supposed to be yay, this is triumphant moment, and then Noah and Will can have this nice bonding thing, but it was kind of icky. And then retroactively, it then made me be like, well, Will was justifiably bitchy to that guy. I forgot his name. The white guy activist.
Dex. Okay.
Dex. But
who's the equivalent of George Wickham from Pride and Prejudice, according to the Wikipedia entry on the film.
Yes. And the thing is, it made me also cast aspersions on Will, because I was like, dude, you have a very valid reason. If he's date raping / revenge porning people, that's something you should tell people immediately. I would never be like, yeah, please hang out with this rapist adjacent person. I'm not going to say anything.
Will is kind of coy throughout most of the movie. He's like, hey, Dex isn't a good guy, but I'm not going to say why, but he's behaved very badly. And that's not the sort of information you should hold back immediately.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, that's I didn't think of all that, but that makes that's
I'm just kind of thinking, because Calvin, you brought up some new points, and you're making me think about it more, and and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, that is really, really fucked up. I mean, the movie does know it's fucked up, but it pretends that it's a much easier problem to solve than it actually would be. So
and I feel bad because I loved so much else about the movie, and because even that beating thing with the drugs being here, we're gonna pass all these drugs out. I love that part. I like the underwear party scene. I was glad that they actually included a backroom scene as well as an orgy scene later, because I was like, I'm glad that they were actually being yeah, we're gonna be full gay, we're gonna fuck on this island, and I appreciate
they
that.
do.
As opposed to they fucking did, and I was happy about that.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. This ain't for the kids. There's straight up dude on dude in this thing.
It gets graphic, you guys.
Goodness. My stars. I clutched my pearls 5 times.
I was fanning myself. I had to get my smelling salts.
Ooh.
Perish the thought. Oh my.
Oh my. Well, I was not expecting this sort of thing.
Land sakes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a scene where Noah, Joel Kim Booster's character, he takes his current crush Dex to the back room, and they're getting hot and heavy, and then as Noah is kneeling in front of Dex, doing that thing that You do when you are knelt in front of someone.
Yeah.
He kind of leans over and he sees like Will awkwardly standing there, and I really liked Conrad Ricamora as Will in the movie, who's the Mr. Darcy equivalent. I thought he gave a really good performance. I really liked his character just because
Hmm.
like he's the guy who's there, but he's very ill at ease with the culture there at Fire Island. He's just
Yeah, and I like the way he played it too, because he's like one of those guys who's like kind of to himself, and yeah, like
yeah
not really part of the scene, so he can come across as being very standoffish or
yeah
very like I'm better than all these plebeians. But like
right
once the movie, as you get into the movie more, you see like, oh wait, he's not that. He's
yeah
actually something different.
Yeah.
and I could really identify that with that because like I tend to be a shy introverted person, so and sometimes without meaning to you can come off as very standoffish or like an asshole, um, especially if you have a sarcastic streak. So
Oh boy.
Exactly. And I
yeah,
loved that scene where Noah takes Will to that like place. I forget what the name of the club was. And then I got to shout out
Ice
Peppermint.
Palace, I think it was.
Yes. And I got to shout out Peppermint, who is super amazing. Peppermint is such an amazing drag queen and is incredibly very friendly, very nice. And so Peppermint is the drag queen who's hosting that dance contest, and then Will gets up and
Hmm.
starts awkwardly dancing. I thought that
Yes,
was so cute.
yeah,
Loved it.
yeah,
Yeah, I will say
yeah, and
that like,
that's
sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's another thing I liked about this film, like the chemistry. I mean, the chemistry between Noah and Howie is good, but the chemistry between Noah and Will is really good. Like the two of them
Hmm.
have like a really good like back and forth, and like
Yeah,
you see those sparks between them.
they did have a real chemistry, and you are kind of rooting for them to get together or at least understand each other. And yeah, that worked well for me.
Hmm. It
Absolutely,
was really
absolutely.
good. And I
Hmm.
feel like I think because I know and understand introverts like Will, it really I
Hmm.
saw their connection. I saw how they connected, and B also how their meetings were so awkward, and it was so weirdly combative. And I like the
Yeah.
voiceover where no one's like, I'm angry but also very horny.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah.
very spot on.
And yeah, sometimes that stuff mixes together. Yeah.
Mhm.
and uh,
Hey
and I
now.
also enjoyed Bowen Yang's subplot with the fellow that he was interested in. And I'm blanking on his character
Oh,
name right
Charlie.
now, Charlie.
Yes.
And I really liked like and towards the end, um, like Charlie kind of makes a big gesture to Howie, and and he goes too far, and I think he says like "I love you," and then one of his friends just goes, "Nope, too big, too
Yes,
stupid,
Right.
so
dial it
funny.
back." And
Right.
that might have been my favorite line in the movie, where his friends were just like, "Nope, nope, you needed to make a big gesture. That's too big, too stupid. Dial it back."
Mhm. Right, because in the movie, like, what was it? Howie and Charlie start to get close, but they don't really do anything. They don't hook up, and
Hmm. Yeah,
Charlie's friends, one of them, a Cooper, who's like, this huge asshole. he he brings, I think, or somebody brought in Charlie's ex to the island, Reese, and then Charlie and Reese start reconnecting, and which breaks Howie's heart. And like Bowen
right.
does a really good
Hmm.
job of like conveying that, like that heartbroken. Oh, I thought I was gonna fall in love this weekend, and I guess not. And like they also like
Right.
that's like I said, that scene between Bowen and um and Joel Kim, I thought was fantastic. Where Bowen's like, yeah, I want to fall in love. Like I'm 30 years old and I've never had a boyfriend, and it saddens me. And like I don't know, I got
Yeah.
emotional at that scene. Like he was really Bones really was giving it his all in that scene.
I mean, he honestly, it was really, really good acting. And I think as someone like I definitely could identify with Bowen in that way as well. Like, I mean, I've had a boyfriend in the past, but I mean, I remember I felt like it was pretty late for me the first time I even like was with a guy like that. And I really enjoyed the contrast between Bowen and Joel, or rather between Noah and Howie, where I mean, I feel like it was such a good snapshot of these two different kinds of gay lifestyles, because I mean, obviously, like, I have friends who are, you know, non-monogamous and are all about that, but there are gay men who are monogamous and do want romance. And I really felt like both the lines were really well written, but also Bowen really sold the hell out of it and made
Yeah.
a really good case for, like, there are gay men who want to be monogamous, and that does not mean that they're trying to fit into heterosexual society. It's just that it's like, no, I want one person who I want to come home to and, like, hang out with and share my life with. And I think that that's something I feel like a lot of in the queer community more recently. I feel like there's been this such a big push towards, like, let's be non-monogamous and let's be monogamish. And if you want to be monogamous, you're just feeding into straight stereotypes. And it's like, no, like, sometimes monogamy is for certain people. Certain people just want and need that. And just because we're queer and we can choose our kinds of relationships doesn't mean that it's bad to choose something that is seen as quote unquote traditional. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I like that the movie acknowledges that not everybody is wired up the same way. Yeah, like some people, they do want a boyfriend or, you know, a girlfriend if that's where you're going, and yeah, and some people are just about hooking up, and one isn't really worse than the other. It's just whatever works for you, and as long as both people are on the same page, yeah, great. But I mean, it's also just such a journey, and it's kind of heartbreaking. Like I'm 30 and I've never had a serious boyfriend, because coming out has got to be just such a journey in itself, and not everybody does that on the same timeline. So
yeah,
so that adds just this whole other level of difficulty to it, I would imagine.
yeah, I know, absolutely. It's we're all just looking for love on this crazy planet, man. Right, boys, right, boys.
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
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 All right, I didn't expect it to go that route. Okay. But yeah, and I also say, like, the third thing I really loved about the film, like, Joel Kim Booster's acting is really top notch. I thought in this one, like, I haven't
Yeah.
seen him in much projects. Like, I know his stand up a little bit. I saw a little bit of Sunnyside, but I don't know, this one he really carries the movie. I thought, like,
Yeah.
he's funny when he needs to be. He's really dramatic when he needs to be. Like, you see, he can, like, he could be a leading man. Like, if and I don't know, I hope
Yes.
this film, like, gives him the shot to do that. I thought his acting was phenomenal in this one.
Yeah. He was really good. He did a nice job carrying the film, I thought. I'd say, probably my biggest criticism of the film is just there are so many characters that I found it a little difficult to keep track at times. And I think that's probably just because they were adapting and modernizing Pride and Prejudice, and like those Victorian era novels, they got a ton of characters and a ton of subplots and stuff. So
Oh yeah, it's true,
it
because you have
seems
to hit the 600 page count. So they're like, yeah, we got to fill this shit in. Let's get a side thing about Miss
they were
Havisham or whatever the fuck.
they were getting paid by the word,
Yeah.
like a chapter running a month.
But so wait, I actually did
Yep.
agree, and this was the other thing that I found a little bit problematic about the movie is that of the five friends, I mean, obviously Noah and Howie got the most screen time, and then
Right.
it was Luke, because Luke had the, again, subplot that I found problematic. But then other than that, it was weird that the Latinx person, Keegan, and Max, felt like they got so little screen time, relatively speaking. And
Yeah.
with Keegan, the Latinx person, basically, I feel like Keegan basically was just operating as, like, Luke's twin, which I thought was a little weird. But then Max, especially as the one, because I was like, oh, like, yay, we have, like, a black person, we have a person of size here. And I felt like Max never really got to do anything other than, like, kind of slut shame. And it felt a little weird to me, because it's like, if you're a person of size, like, you're allowed to fuck. Let him fuck on the island. Like,
Yeah.
I was a little bit. It bothered me a little bit that I felt, had the least to do in the movie, and I wish that would not have happened, because especially when it's like, hey, we have all these people of color. I would like for them to have, like, more equal playing time. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that might have been a reflection because I mean, it was originally planned as a series, so
Mhm.
maybe those more minor characters in the movie were going to be much more developed in the show and get more of their own subplots and their development because it's a pretty quick movie. It's only like an hour 30.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some of the characters in the group aren't real developed. And yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're making a movie, you got to cut it down to the bone, I guess. So
Yeah, but I do see what you mean, Calvin. I did notice that too. Like Max was basically just like the big nerdy gay black guy who's like, paranoid a little bit and dorky. And Keegan was the flamboyantly gay Latinx kind of stereotype. And I was like, yeah, I kind of wish they maybe should have fleshed those characters out a little bit more. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I liked them, and I feel like there are times where like I feel like they made it count. Like, I mean, I appreciate the scene again in the underwear party where Max gets that funny thing where he's like, "What's wrong with my eyes?" And then Noah goes, "Actually, wait, there is something wrong with your eyes. You should go to the bathroom and get that checked." Or like, I love the scene where Bowen and Luke and Keegan sing Britney Spears that song. I always forget the name of it, but Sometimes I Run. I thought that was super hilarious, and I was like, they're really good at comedic stuff. And I do agree. I think that it's hard when it's an hour and 30 minutes, and I'm also sure that because this is a movie that's releasing on Hulu as opposed to like HBO Max or Showtime. I'm sure
mhm.
they're also like, we need to cut down certain things because the movie can't be too explicitly gay because I feel like that always happens in depending on where you're releasing any sort of thing. Like Hulu is slightly more family friendly, and now like Disney Plus Disney Plus owns Hulu, so I know that also plays a factor. But
Mm.
Oh, yeah,
I
okay.
but I kind of wish I was like I wanted them to get a little bit more time to shine, and I also wanted to like see them fuck. Like, come on,
Yeah. Get it, Max. Get it.
yes, bitch, do that shit.
Do that shit. But yeah, I will admit with you, they did have like a lot of good jokes and a lot of good dialogue in this film too. There was at one point where Noah walks up to Howie after they've had a big fight, and Howie, hasn't talking to him in a number of days, and like I think Noah says something like, "Are you still mad at me? This is the longest you've ever gone without talking at me. Ever since I told you call me by your name was boring." And then Howie retorts with, "It's a cinematic masterpiece. I'm sorry, it's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe." I lo- that I laughed out loud at.
That was good. I also liked the after Will basically intimidates Dex into deleting the movie that he made of him and Luke by saying like, well, this counts as revenge porn, and you would have to register as a sex offender, and he's like spelling out the legal consequences for him. And then in the scene after that, they cut to Will and Noah walking on the beach together, and Will is just kind of like, well, I mean, I don't really do that type of law, and honestly, half of what I told him was BS. And Noah goes, "Oh, you legally blonded him," and I like that. That was funny.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
then like Will
"I've
says
seen
like,
Legally Blonde. I get that joke."
yeah. We learned that Will didn't get that reference about Legally Blonde, and we learned he doesn't know a lot about pop culture stuff, especially during
Right.
when they invite him over to the house and they have like they play party games.
That Marissa
Oh yeah.
Tomei scene killed me. I love my cousin Vinny, and so I was like right there. I was like, yes, I see you, movie. I see you.
The
And
prosecution is wrong.
right. Yeah, so in this game, it's like you have to guess which celebrity someone is, or the person who's holding up. He's holding up somebody's phone to his forehead, so he can't see what the celebrity is, and everybody else in the room is giving him hints, and so they're acting out Marissa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny, and Will is just not getting it at all because presumably he's never seen that movie or doesn't
Yeah,
remember it if he has,
yeah,
and so he's just lost without a map.
yeah. Like
I
he,
laughed so hard. Also, when he knew Alicia Vikander, and I was like, "Yep, I'm right there." You know
You're
that
right.
bitch? You don't know Marissa fucking Tomei? Excuse
And he's like,
me.
well,
Come
she was really
on.
good in Ex Machina. So,
Get out, millennial! Don't even do that. How dare you?
Yeah, yeah. I really liked Will. I thought Conrad Ricamora, he just killed that part because like
Hmm.
it's a tough part to play because he has to be kind of dickish and standoffish at first, but you still have to like him enough that you're still rooting for him and Noah to get together. And I thought he walked that line beautifully, man.
Yes, he
Yeah.
really did. Ugh.
It was, I mean, because he was still kind of adorkable enough that you still liked him. So
Exactly. And I feel like also so much of it was couched in concern. Like, sorry, we're jumping around. I know that it's a lot of jumping around, but the
yeah, it's
scene,
fine.
like, sort of in the beginning when they first, so when the core group of five first get to Charlie and Will's place where they're saying it's like palatial, like beach house, and
Hmm.
there's a scene where Noah accidentally like overhears Will talking to Charlie about how like, oh, be careful because people can use you, and like, they're just here to like drink all of our booze and stuff. And when he's even like, oh, he's not hot enough to be a threat, which is, it's hurtful, but at the same time you can tell that it really came from a place of concern. And I feel like Conrad really sold that, which
Hmm.
then made me feel less of like, ugh, Will should never get with Noah, and more like, okay, I see where it's coming from, even if it's not okay.
Right.
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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Yes, I think we're kind of getting towards the end of the movie here. But yeah, I mean, overall thoughts. Closing thoughts on this movie as a whole. Calvin, what like overall? What did you think of this film?
So overall, I mean, overall, again, problematic date rape adjacency aside, I
Hmm.
really like this movie. I really loved the dialogue. I loved the chemistry between everyone. I thought was really great. And I mean, just to be that guy, I appreciated that it was like mostly leads of color. The white people were the villains. They were cartoonishly villainous. They got their comeuppance, and I was like, yeah, because like honestly, sometimes fuck the white hegemony. So like, and especially white gays, girl, they need to go. So I was really
Oh
into that.
shit! Wow. Oh.
I say that as I'm dating one, but whatever. He can privilege, but I.
Wow. This is a hell of a way for your boyfriend to find out he's been canceled.
Calvin's boyfriend's like, so I listened to that podcast you did.
Oh,
Uh,
so
do we need to
I
talk?
got to go.
All right. Well,
First, Venmo me $100 so that it's reparations, and then you can leave, and then that's fine. But seriously, overall, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed both what it said about gay culture, but also what it said about race and class. And the things
Yeah.
that I thought were not perfect, even though it wasn't perfect, I thought it was well done. And I hope that this encourages Hollywood to make another movie like this so that they can get kind of tweak those things, make it a little bit like stronger and better. And it'll be a really wonderful time. But I loved it a lot.
Well, I know Billy Eichner's doing or did a movie called Bros,
Which I am
which
so looking forward to seeing, because I feel like
yeah,
that's a
that
much more graphic. Again, it's not made for Hulu, so I'm excited
right.
about that one.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, it was that film is like the first one where all the gay parts are played by gay actors, or was it this film?
No, that one is all the gay parts, or all the gay lead parts are all gay, or sorry, are all queer identified. Because I even
Okay.
the people who are supposed to be straight, quote unquote, are played by queer people. Because one of them is
Oh,
Guillermo
okay.
Diaz, who is very hot. Guillermo Diaz, look him up. He was talking on Scandal. Oh, he's from Half Baked. He's the guy who says "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." You're cool. Fuck you. I'm out. Ugh,
Oh, nice. Okay, that's a great
love Guillermo
moment. Yeah,
Diaz.
oh, nice.
yeah.
Wonderful. Anyway.
But yeah, yeah. So, John, the movie you're talking about, Bros, it comes out in September of this year, and it's the first gay romantic comedy from a major studio featuring an almost entirely LGBTQ principal cast, with the exception of Deborah Messing and Kristen Chenoweth, whom the director calls allies of the community. And it's directed by Nicholas Stoller, who I believe did Forgetting Sarah Marshall, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's yeah, that's very cool. I mean, it's just so weird to think. it took until 2022 for that to happen. You're like, oh, how have we not gotten to this sooner? Oh shit, that's not good. Because I remember even like back in the 90s, like when they're doing the movie version of the play Jeffrey, even there, like the gay couple. Well, I know Steven Weber is straight. I don't know about the other fellow, the guy who was the lead on The Pretender. Um,
Oh, I think he's also straight. Don't quote me on that
Probably
though. I
is,
think
yeah,
so.
yeah. And Patrick Stewart was in there, and Patrick Stewart is straight.
Sadly.
So yeah, so even like this big play about the gay experience, and I got to see that show on stage once, and I saw the movie as well. So even in that, yeah, it's like all the gay people are played by straight people. It's like
Mm.
you couldn't toss one gay person in there, maybe?
We couldn't
It's
find them. There's no gay
is
people in the
it?
theater. No
They
gay
don't
actors out there.
exist. They're
Yeah.
just bachelors. They're just bachelors who haven't found the right one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
so
I mean,
interesting because I think about it
Yeah.
too because so I was listening to like it's this like YouTube series and they review movies and they were talking about the Birdcage. They were doing a retro review of it.
mhm,
And you know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the Birdcage. The Birdcage, very
sure.
Yeah.
gay.
Yeah.
And Nathan Lane obviously is gay. Nathan Lane, I didn't know until I listened to that, he was not out when that movie came out. Which I'm like,
Oh, really?
that's crazy. Because it's
Yeah.
Nathan fucking Lane, but that's how it was back then. Is even when you were obviously gay, you still had to be like, oh, I'm just, you know, looking for my wife, and I'm playing this like very flamboyant drag queen in the Birdcage. Like it's
Right.
crazy to me, but
I
you know,
remember I remember an interview with Nathan Lane. It was probably sometime in the 90s, probably not too long after the Birdcage, and it was a print interview, and he just said like, "Look, I'm a single man. I'm over 40, and I work in musical theater. You do the math." And I just thought that was such a great quote. It always stayed with me.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
It's like,
sure. Maybe that was him coming out. I don't know his whole coming out story, but
yeah.
I
People are
feel
like,
like
oh
I
no,
love
yes,
you
that
just
quote.
people are like, no, you just haven't found the right
technically,
woman yet. It's like
Yeah,
Liberace.
like Liberace. Yeah, exactly.
exactly, or like Paul Lind, you know, he just kept trying, kept looking.
Oh. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Trumbull. What were your overall thoughts about this movie? What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. Like Calvin said, it had a lot of good lines in it. I mean, I enjoyed. Uh, I think Roger Ebert had a quote. He said like, you know, movies are empathy machines. It's like how you learn how to empathize with like outside your own life experiences. And this, you know, of course, showed me a lot of things that are outside my life experience. So I enjoyed it in that regard. I thought it was a little tough to follow at times just because there were so many different characters, and I was just like, okay, wait, which guy is this again? Wait, which which ones of these hooked up with each other? And yeah, so I got a little confused there, but I'm sure I could keep it more straight if I watched it a second time. You know,
No
Mhm.
pun intended.
no pun intended.
All right. Awesome. Hey. Yeah. Ultimately, I really liked this movie. I thought it was great. Yeah, it kind of gave me a view into a world that I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah,
Fire Island and the LGBTQIA party scene. But I really dug it. I thought the acting was great. Joel Kim Booster really impressed me. Bowen really impressed me. Like I thought it was fantastic. I mean, all the points that Calvin brought up about of course the date rape scene and stuff. Yeah, that like the more I think about it now, the more like, oh yeah, that wasn't that could have been handled better. Like it wasn't a perfect movie, but it had a lot of good things going for it. Um,
yeah,
the character Will, I thought was played well. Yeah, and like I said, it did like get me emotional, like especially with Bowen's character of Howie about how he was longing for a relationship and companionship, and I mean I think things like that, like themes like that, are
yeah.
something a lot of people can identify with, even if you're not LGBTQIA or whatnot. So and
Right, right. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, because yeah, even if you don't identify with these specific experiences, you can identify with those underlying emotions, and you don't see that in movies very often of like somebody who's like wanting and yearning to be in a relationship and they don't necessarily achieve that by the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
because movies are just constructed around a story, and you want everybody to get a happy ending, and and you find the love of your life after this week-long trip, and that's not the most realistic ending in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
So yeah.
But overall, I give this movie a big thumbs up, and I highly recommend people check it out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, well worth seeing. It's streaming on Hulu. Check it out, Fire Island, folks. So
Yeah. And I guess that's our episode, guys. Thanks again for listening as
mhm.
always. Our Calvin Cato, you have been just a dynamite guest, just a firecracker of a fella.
Aw,
And
thank you. And seriously,
yeah.
thank you so much. And in general, like I was already kind of planning to watch Fire Island, but I'm so glad that you asked me to because I ended up watching it twice. So it was really good. And I do think that it's a really nice, I hate saying this, but I think it's a nice, important movie for people to watch. Not just,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I hate that because it's like, oh, it has to be important, but it's nice that it gives such a good snapshot, not even to just queer culture, but like what it's like to be a queer person of color, and what it's like to be kind of like on the poorer side. I think that that's something that's
Mm.
really
Yeah.
important, and it was nice that it was a movie that did it while still being entertaining and funny at the same time. So
Yeah, yeah. I liked how Noah had, after he screwed up his phone, everybody was like, "Well, see, this is why you need Apple Care." And he's like, "I've had an iPhone 6 for this many years. You think I can afford Apple Care?" And I was like, "I feel that. I still have a massively old iPhone, so
oh
Mm.
yeah, I felt that. I only upgraded to a 10 finally because I dropped my iPhone 6 on a subway platform and it shattered. And I was like, guess it's time. But I had an iPhone 6 up until people had iPhone, like I didn't even know it was 10s. I was
yeah,
holding on to that shit for
Oh,
dear life.
double
yeah.
digits.
I'm still on the iPhone 7 over here, and I'm hanging on to it for dear life."
Hell yeah, you hold on to that 50% battery because that's what I had. I was like
Uh,
That's pretty much what it is. I think it's somewhere in the 70. Let me see what my battery health is.
oh
Oh, let's
boy.
say maximum capacity 76%. Yeah, baby.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Although I think if you go
uh,
to an Apple store, they can replace the battery for you for like
They
80
can,
bucks
they
or
can.
something.
I'm just scared that I'm going to go and it will cost money. So
Mm.
I would say we can't be rich like you, Darren, with your dual income household. Okay, some of us have to do it by ourselves.
that's right.
Hey,
That's right. Yep.
maybe if you guys pulled yourself up by your bootstraps, like I did, you could
Wow. Okay.
live the
Okay.
lavish
Darren's
life
going
that
all
I do.
Republican on us. Okay.
Right. That's right. Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill.
Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed the final episode of the SNL Nerds. But yeah, we actually will be back next week, and we were planning to do something else for the 4th of July, but with certain things that happen, we decided to pivot and do something else that hits on something else that is in the news right now outside of Pride Month. We're going to cover uh, a movie from 2014 starring SNL vet Jenny Slate, The Obvious Child.
Oh,
Yeah.
such a good movie. Oh, I wish I could come back for
Ooh.
that. I really liked it.
Well,
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen it before, and I was kind of racking my brain. I was like, we should. Is there a movie starring an SNL alum that hits on abortion in some manner or fashion? And then it just popped into my head. Oh, The Obvious Child. Yes, of course. And I haven't seen it yet. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So, because I remember it just getting all sorts of critical acclaim. So, yeah, looking
Yeah.
I
forward to it.
So,
I will say
right.
I really liked it a lot, and I don't remember when I saw it. It definitely was not in 2014. It was afterwards. But
Mm-hmm.
Jenny Slate, that's always such an interesting footnote on SNL because I remember even when she got it and was on it, so she and Gabe Liedman, who is the creator of Q Force and is a character on it, is in addition to other stuff. I remember like seeing their like live show, and then I remember when she got SNL, and I was like, because I think she's funny, I think she's a great actress, but I always felt like her humor was never a great fit for what SNL was and wanted her to be. And Obvious Child, I felt, was such a good vehicle for her. I mean, she works well on that, or Drunk History, she's great on that too. And I feel like, because, SNL is like that, where they just get people and they don't really understand how to use them properly. Like Casey Wilson's another one I think Casey Wilson's fucking hilarious. And I actually liked Casey Wilson on SNL, but I feel like they just didn't know how to use her properly. And Jenny Slate was another person like that. So
it's interesting. Like SNL one of the things I like about the show is they do try to bring in people who have different styles of comedy and try to bring that to the show. And like this season, Sarah Squirm, she was able to integrate her humor into SNL really well. I think Bowen Yang has been very successful at integrating his humor into SNL. And then you see other people who that just doesn't happen for whatever reason. Like Sarah Silverman didn't make a big splash on SNL.
Mm-hmm. Lauren Holt.
Jenny Slate didn't make a big splash. And and it's not that they're not funny people. It's just that for whatever reason, they didn't quite work on the show.
Yeah. So, tune in for next week's episode, guys. Talking about Obvious Child with Jenny Slate and Calvin. You're a hilarious comedian. It's your time to shine. Your time to promote, plug. Where can the people find you? The floor is yours, good sir.
Oh dear. Okay. So, I know it's about me. So I have a website, CalvinCato.com, where I list all of my dates. And I will actually be gone for most of August. I'll be in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, so that's going to be super amazing.
Ooh.
So I'll be there.
Oh, wow.
The 16th. Yeah, I'm super excited.
That's awesome. Is this your first time going?
Yeah, this is my first time. I've never done it before, so I'm like really excited. I've never even been to the UK, so this is like a whole new world for me. So I'll be doing that. And then before that, I'll be just doing a week of shows in London. So I'll put that up on my website. And I'm like moving and shaking somehow. But yeah,
that is awesome.
And
congratulations for that. Yeah,
thank you.
Wow.
And just to clarify for people, it's Calvin Cato with a C.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Calvin with a C, Cato with a C.
Yes. And
Liza with a Z. Exactly.
Zaddy Zato. That's what they call me.
Nice. And so
that's his alias on X Hamster. So we don't need to get into that.
Yeah, you rattled those porn sites off like it was nothing.
I was doing research.
Look,
for the
Darren,
movie.
we're not all married, okay?
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I had that coming. Okay, so where can people find you on Instagram, Twitter, the social medias?
Oh, right. So I'm on Twitter at Cato Calvin, CATOCALVIN, and I'm on Instagram at Calvin S. Cato, CALVIN SCATO, and I'm on Facebook because I'm over 35. And it's true. I'm also on LinkedIn, like I said earlier. So hit me up.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Darren Incredible. That's DARI Incredible. And follow the SNL Nerds podcast Twitter handle at SNL Nerds Pod. SNL Nerds Show. Sorry, SNL Pod was something else.
That's okay. We've only been doing the show for 4 years.
It's so hot in here.
It's so hot. Darren is going to pass out from heat stroke any moment, folks. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Trumbull Comic, TRUMBULL, and then the word comic. But as I said earlier in the show, I don't do anything on Instagram. I'll comment once in a while. Darren tags me in the show on Instagram every week, and I'm like, I have no idea how to share this still. So.
I'm trying to drag him into the 21st century, people.
I don't want to go. I am quite happy in the late 20th. I have the internet. That is all I need, sir.
A man at a time.
It's going to be like the miracle worker. You're just going to have to put it in his hand and be like, Google.
But yes, so yeah, we'll be back next week with The Obvious Child. But until then, nerds out! Yeah. That has a double meaning this week.
Oh, wow.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.